Hey everyone, welcome back to Unlearn with Bianca. Today on the podcast, I'm very excited to be speaking with Dion Freeman from Healing Aotearoa. Dion is a Māori healer, specifically in the Māori medicine called Honohono. And Dion and I actually hadn't met up until a few weeks ago. I saw Dion record a podcast with David Mouse. Shout out to David Mouse because it was an amazing episode. And as soon as I watched some of the episode, I was instantly like, I have to reach out to this guy. I need to talk to him. He looks super interesting. We set up a call. We had a Honohono session together, which I'm sure we'll delve into today. And yeah, I'm super excited to get into this conversation. So welcome, Dion.
Kia ora. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to have you here. Should we just start off by you sharing with the audience a little bit about yourself and the Māori medicine that is Honohono?
All right. Kia ora koutou whānau. My name is Dion Rangiuaia Freeman. The Rangiuaia part is from my Māori heritage, and that's where this medicine comes from. So I've been practicing Honohono since about 2008 as an actual, I guess, occupation. Before that, was a nightclub owner. Before that, sort of grew up in West Auckland, and my nan gifted me this medicine as a young boy, and it sort of got pushed out just due to, I guess, family. We're sort of a religious family at that time, and so it was all a bit spooky. I was the spooky kid, and yeah, 2008, my nan sort of come back with time to get the show on the road and give up my worldly possessions and take this medicine to the people. So I've been, working in clinics and teaching students for all of those years. And I met David Mouse just from working in with IHF and the owner, Dan Hood, to come down to Christchurch and help set up a Manawa retreat. That's sort of me in a nutshell for the moment.
Yeah, how would you describe Honohono? Like an energy, medicine? How do you put it into words?
I always find this a little bit tricky. Depends on the audience, really. And that's more where their brain can go. So for me, it's a spiritual practice. It's a traditional Māori practice that was lost due to the Tohunga Suppression Act. Basically, this comes from my ancestor, Riwai Pakiro. And so in the 1800s, he was practicing this medicine, which back then was sort of called faith healing, as the settlers had sort of just come in and introduced the church, and Māori had probably a different sort of hierarchy system of who they would karakia or pray to. And so different gods of different elements would be who you would pray to back in those days. And Riwai sort of had this thing of just going straight to the source, which from both sides of that wasn't necessarily welcomed because of such hierarchy. He traveled around the country by horse and cart with his grandchildren, sort of taking him around because he was also blind.
Interesting.
Yep. And so he was known back in those days as the blind carver. And it was through carving, I think, 11 marae along the East Coast, so 11 meeting houses, that he found this art by tuning into Source or our Creator, whatever you want to call it. For us, we call that energy eo, which is masculine and feminine combined. And so as much as it's a spiritual medicine, to other people, I would sort of introduce it more as an energy medicine because energy isn't as airy-fairy. And I guess people they're more open to saying they feel energy rather than they feel spirit. And yeah, it's quite an interesting sort of, I guess if you looked at it as in a market, you would have more people probably that would move towards energy rather than spiritual because of that understanding or lack of understanding, probably more.
Yeah, definitely. And we did talk about this when we were having our session as well, which will be interesting to share more on. But yeah, I was very lucky to receive some Honohono medicine from Dion, and I could tell the elements, obviously spiritual, but also the energy thing. And as I was like, before I jumped on this podcast, I was trying to think about a way that I could, honor your practice and say it in a way that would make sense to people. But I guess the energy thing, if we just think about energy, it cannot be destroyed. It's always around.
I guess with energy, people know when energy's stuck in their
Mm,
body. And the easiest way to explain what I do or my students is we help to remove that energy by feeling into what it is,
hmm
what that blockage is. And so with Honohono, it literally means to join. So to join your mind, your body, and your spirit, but also to reconnect you back with our Creator and our Mother Earth. So a lot of our healing can be seen in nature, and we utilize nature a lot. But just from an energetic standpoint, that's my basic sort of line of work. Is I find where you've got a blockage. So, for instance, let's say it's a knot in your muscle.
hmm
If I was to bring my hand about an inch away from that knot, and depending on the body part, I'd be able to get a feel on what that blockage is.
mm,
And so, say for instance, if it was your left shoulder up the top within the Honohono body map, this would tell me that you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulder. The
hmm
left side would be to do with feminine, or it could be expectations. And then I would help to draw or help you to release that energy. When I bring it to your attention, what it might be to do with, your brain's automatically going to go, that's what that is, get it gone. And so then you actively start to help release that process as well, or
yeah,
you're actively involved in that process. And that actually makes my job easier. So
yeah,
we did your session over distance. So you would have been feeling things as I was finding and locating blockages and drawing that energy out. And then at the end of that session, I relay all the things that came up. And then you have your own version of what you were feeling as well, or what releases were happening. So
mm,
they can go from tummy rumbles, throat gurgles, burps, farts, giggles, tears, depends on how you release and what that emotional stored energy is.
yeah, yeah. Well, we may as well talk about my session because I feel like it would be easier for me to try and explain like how it actually happened on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, you would have had like a completely different experience, I'm sure, giving it. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know. So, yeah, for you guys listening that are sort of new to energy medicine or anything distance, like this wasn't my first time having any kind of distance healing. Like I've done it before, I've been there before, but this was definitely one of the most powerful energy healing, distance healings that I've had. In terms of me feeling it and understanding the messages that come up. So I actually wrote some notes because I thought, I had a few videos. That was my homework to go back over some videos. And as I was rewatching the videos, I took a few notes. So the first part of it was us jumping on a call, like we had never met. And poor Dion, I think, instantly started feeling parts of his body that I was also feeling tension in my body. So that happened pretty quickly. I had actually the day before gone to a masseuse to try and sort my shoulder out, which had a knot, like a gristly knot thing in it. And I knew that that was emotional, but, pause that for a minute. And then also immediately my chest started going red, a bit of a heat rash coming on, which I've definitely had before, but not in a long time. So that was very interesting for me. And then we spoke about, you pulled some cards beforehand?
No, well, I think while you were
Oh, while
there,
we were doing it?
before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, it really, I think while my physical ailments were coming up, Dion, from my perspective, was helping me connect my emotions and my experience to different parts of my body. So that is when I instantly started having some aha moments. And I was thinking, like, it sort of felt like I had the puzzle pieces already there. The stuff that Dion was quite quickly relaying to me wasn't necessarily new stuff, but it was things that I had, but I almost wanted to like keep, like just push aside for now, or things that perhaps I hadn't quite connected up, like all the dots. It's almost like I had the puzzle pieces, you put the puzzle together. And so we had that first half hour. Then I had a lie down, which was the next part where I received the healing. I think that's how we describe it,
Yep.
which was, again, very interesting from my perspective because, let's just say my body was releasing. There were moments where I was crying. There were moments where my stomach was just gurgling the whole time. I could feel energy in parts of, I know this probably sounds a bit crazy for those of you who haven't received this before. And Dion knows I'm a very logical person, but I'm totally into this. So yeah, there were parts of my body that were very tense. And I could feel where the energy was moving. And then we reconvened, got back together. I had some more messages. And yeah, I think that's when we pieced some more things together. And I sort of ended the call just quite overwhelmed, but in a good way. There was a lot of stuff come up.
I would say that was really on point. From my side of things, I think that was why I offered the session, because it's easier to talk about if you know what I do. And so all of your reactions are quite normal. I think the probably cool thing that I sort of witnessed was that as soon as I started bringing up stuff from your thymus gland, that part of your body went red, like instantly while we were on camera.
Yeah.
It wasn't during the session where you're like, what the hell's going on? So you were able to see it straight away,
Mm.
which also just highlighted, I guess, parts of what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of the way it works is with Honohono, there are a couple of main things that we have to have in place. It's part of our tikanga or part of our systematic process is the highest intention. So this way, no harm comes to anybody. It means I don't take on your stuff, and it gives permission for our creator to step in and take over. And then I'm listening to your energy. So
Mm.
your energy then dictates the whole session, and you might think that I'm putting the jigsaw together, but actually I'm just showing you the pieces and how to turn them around.
Mm-hmm.
So that,
Mm-hmm.
and then with me feeling that stuff straight away, as soon as you give consent, then my spirit's like, cool, let's get to work. This is what's going on, and it literally it shows me in my body because I get those aches and pains momentarily. Like I know once that issue has left my body, then it's left yours. And so I think that the trippiest part for me was to get my head around was that um, healing and that intention with the highest intent doesn't know about space and time or doesn't care. And so I'm also a very logical person. And so if you could imagine going from a nightclub owner and, um, running businesses and a few other businesses at the time to knowing that I could do this stuff, it probably the first 2 years I was really skeptical of my own work. And my nan just kept telling me and showing me. And then she was like, you need to write it down. And then that's when I started to work out that, oh, okay, there's actually a science to this.
Yeah.
And then 2013 was when I had one of my clients who become a very good friend. He was like, you fixed my back when a whole bunch of specialists around the world couldn't do anything. I need to know how you did this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to learn alone. So get a whole bunch of people who want to learn this and teach me. And so that started up the first workshops of Healing Aotearoa. And now we have, around 700, probably just a little bit more now, 700 plus students that have done that first foundation workshop. and it just gets you to understand your energy, how your energy operates, where things are stored in your body. So I guess my thing is when you have a better understanding of what's going on internally for you, it helps you to course correct any sort of patterns that, if you keep stubbing one of your toes, it's probably trying to tell you something.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I'm so on board. And the work I do, because I was thinking about in relation to some of the more like brain based work I do. And it's very the same. It's the same principle. It's all about the mind body connection. We know that thoughts create energy gets stored in the body, stored energy creates illness. Like it's exactly the same. It's just another way of getting there. And I think this medicine was very, I'd say, confronting, because I feel like it was instantly,
Yeah.
we were instantly there, you know?
Yeah. My nan has a saying, and so how she talks to me is, my left ear will start burning and she's got something to say, and then I just have to shut down what I'm doing, and almost like a meditation, and just sit with what she wants to say, and she'll just repeat it. And so one thing that she would repeat for many years was, there's many ways up a mountain. Honohono is a very direct approach, and sometimes it feels like you're going into the mountain and up the top as if it's a volcano.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I utilize many other different forms of medicine. I am just really busy with teaching. There's a lot that I'd love to learn, but I guess at this point in time, it's really about bringing this medicine, because it was illegal for 55 years, to bring it back and revive it.
Mm.
I'm fascinated by neuroscience. I'm fascinated by traditional Chinese medicine. I find both of those things, Honohono has a same but different element to it. And for me, it's just all about general wellness for people. And I know for myself, I suffered in my sort of first part of my life, probably because I wasn't aware or wasn't listening to my body, or,
Mm-hmm.
or my mind, you know. So yeah,
Yeah. I do want to talk about the intuition thing at the end, how we can kind of connect into that. Because as you were saying, if you keep stubbing your toe, then maybe, time to do something different. And I think sometimes we don't connect up our experiences with like repeating patterns until they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all the shit just blows up, you know?
yeah,
But yeah,
fast.
yeah. And that's been
Yeah,
my experience as well. If you don't listen, the lesson keeps repeating until you get forced to change.
yeah, and that was how I ended up transitioning into this, uh,
Mm.
because with the nightclubs, it kept feeling like I was stubbing my toe and headbutting a wall
Yeah.
consistently. And I actually, I had my dream as a 16-year-old to own nightclubs, and it was shit. To say the least. It wasn't all the fun and stuff. There was so much to it, and I felt like I was headbutting brick walls and kept stubbing my toe. And I got really down when I should have been what other people would have seen as my peak. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like, well, this guy's got everything. I had a lot of probably, I was feeling I had a lot of people jealous of what I had, not realizing how much hard work went into building it.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt really, it felt really empty.
Yeah.
And I spent more time in my office than I did in the nightclubs. And the whole reason why I wanted the nightclubs was because I enjoyed that social uh, stuff, but also I wanted to take people's minds off their crap,
Yeah.
because that's what partying did for me in my very late or early teens, probably for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sort of, again, I think I was running towards the brick wall to give it a headbutt. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, they got to a breaking point for me where I was definitely becoming sick. My mind, I couldn't rest,
Mm.
and um, I just stopped and I asked above, what now? And that's when my nan sort of came back. asking me to listen up, and I didn't want to hear those messages either. My pride, my ego, and she told me through another grandmother figure who was actually dying of cancer at the time, and she was like, "You have to do this. You have to give up your worldly possessions and walk." Her words were, "And walk with God, and bring healing to Aotearoa, to the people, whether they're born here or they're drawn here, and they will heal the world." And I was just like,
That's a big mission. Like, how did you even? Did you have? I'm like curious to know if that voice around when you were doing the nightclubs was there. Like, this isn't right. You know, this isn't what you're meant to be doing. Was it there, or was it kind of like a sudden? I don't even like the word download, but like a sudden knowing. You know, did you, or you just kind of keep pressing it to the side, like, oh, we'll deal with you later.
my nan's always been present. Um, she was the first sort of voice I knew in my mind when I was a kid. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't till I physically saw her as a 5-year-old. So my nan was actually in a dementia ward. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so she was, her spirit was free, but she was also trapped in her body at the same time. So when I got to meet her at, I think it was 6 or 7, I was like, "Hey, you're the voice in my head." And she was like, "Shh." And that was the start of our I guess relationship. And then as an adult, I'd go and visit her, especially during the crossover or changeover of the nightclubs, to make sure it wasn't just in my head.
Yeah.
And the confirmations from her in person, like every time I would do energy work with her, she'd just light up. There was one part where I got called to go and basically say my goodbyes to her, and I flew up and did work with her, and then the next day she was back to her normal self, like nothing had happened. And I think she got another year or two of life. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, she's actually around less now that she's not in her physical body, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
know when she comes in, and it's important. So yeah, I guess that's it. But to answer your question, I was probably going, "Bugger off, bugger
Yeah.
off. I've got a nightclub to run. Well, I've got two nightclubs to
I got
run."
partying to do. I got drinks to pour.
The partying had definitely stopped for me by then.
Mm.
It was just full blown work. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I guess I wasn't having too much fun, and probably why I think when we face our own vulnerability, um, and I think that's the thing for me. I've always tried to do things on my own, do things myself. I've always been shy to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And I never want to ask somebody to do what I'm not willing to do. And I think when I gave in to the fact that I was lost in how to move forward, that's when she was like, "Hi, I'm here, do this." So yeah, the transition was super hard for me, in the sense of I wasn't asked to sell everything, I was asked to give everything away. um, so yeah, that took 4 months. And then I started hitchhiking the country with a massage table, offering Maori healing uh,
Yeah.
to people who are like, "What?" So yeah, it was awesome as well. It was liberating as well, and I have. It's hard to say I don't have any regrets, because the money was good,
Yeah. I can imagine.
and not having to I guess watch what you're spending or how you're spending was
Mm-hmm.
definitely nice.
Mm-hmm.
But in saying that, it lost its shine of being rewarding, because my last drink I poured, the guy had had a terrible day, got fired, was ready to blow his last sort of paycheck, and I didn't want to give him the beer. And he was like, "I don't care what you say, give me the beer." Uh,
Mm.
and I think that was a real big realization moment for me, of like, okay, this isn't actually helping people. It's helping people forget, maybe, but tomorrow this guy's going to wish he didn't. Um, so, yeah,
Yeah. The momentary freedom. when we have a drink. That is such an interesting story. I have actually heard parts of it on David's podcast, but not that much details. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like with our healing, was there anything else that you wanted that was interesting to you, or anything that you want to reflect on from that? You're welcome to say whatever, by the way. Like I'm happy to open up.
Yeah.
People listening to my podcast know that I'm willing to put my own shit out there if other people are going to learn. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Your openness to receive, especially coming from a different medicine or coming from um, a very brain orientated medicine. Um,
Mm.
that was really cool to sort of have you open up and really like, okay, I'm going to sit with that. I know some of those things within myself. So yeah, cool. Now I've got some stuff to work with. Um, there was also, I guess, the heartaches, and I
Mm.
think that was when the chest went red.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, I guess I didn't know you. I still don't really know you, to be honest. I probably have a better idea of who you are as a
Yeah.
spirit in
Yeah.
your being or your body. Um, but yeah, I guess from the podcast that I'd heard previously of yours, like I already knew you're very intelligent, you're very smart, but I guess being able to feel that, man, you have so much love in your heart, and especially stuff that you went through with your mum. I
Mm.
think that was probably, man, the capacity for humans to love is massive. Um, I guess from your side of things, it was more your brain was leading the way,
Yeah.
and to really feel like, man, your heart is, if you follow your heart, that's going to take you to some places you might not be able to go um, unless it's open.
Yes. Yes. I wrote down notes from like I said before, notes from DM. I had a few lingering Ice Queen defense mechanisms that I'm working through, guys. Yeah, I mean, I've probably spoken on this in other podcasts, but I was trying to relate it back to my work as well. When we go through trauma and we don't have the resources or the time or support to deal with everything at the time, it does get stored somewhere. It does catch up on us, whether that means that you move from your heart into your head more, which is usually the case. I've been working a lot with females and trying to get us to be back in our bodies again, because the conditioning, let alone painful life experiences, can definitely put us working out of our logic and not from our heart, which I knew about myself. But there were a few experiences that Dion had like pinpointed very accurately that I realized, okay, probably some lingering emotions from that. And you actually gave me some homework, which I haven't yet done. I'm not a very good student, but it's coming. I'll do it this week, which was to go into water and shout some fuck yous under the ocean to get some of that grief and emotion out as well. So, yeah, I haven't done it yet, but I'm curious with the water piece. Do you want to explain a bit around that? Because,
Yeah.
yeah, that was quite specific.
Okay. So this has been lots of people's homework, and this was actually one of the big things that my nan made me do to start with. Um, and also David, actually, if you want to join, whenever you're down in Christchurch, if you want to join him for a 5 a.m. swim.
Yeah, I can pass on the 5 a.m. I don't even like the
Yeah,
cold water, but for the
yeah,
sake of healing, I'll do it.
yeah, no, for sure. He messaged me this morning, 5 a.m., mate. It's dark and horrible out here, but I did it.
Oh, especially
So
in Christchurch.
yeah, good on him. So with the screaming underwater, so the science of it is ocean. When you mix salt combined with the water and the air, releases negative ions. Negative ions then eat away at negative energy. So
Mm,
when you take yourself to the ocean and just get outside, or even wind down your window, that ocean spray or the air around the ocean is going to eat away at your auric field. So any heaviness that's sort of
mm,
on top of you, it's going to eat away at that. when you get into the water, it's going to then start eating skin deep. And if you look at our skin is our biggest organ. So this is where irritations show up. And again, the different body parts would tell what you're irritated about. And so when you get into the ocean, if you do have any of that stuff going on, it's going to sting, but it's those negative ions eating in skin deep. So when you take yourself in and you scream out those F-bombs, it's like an invisible hand reaching in and pulling out that gunk. And the more you do it, the more it gets to reach in and grab the stuff that sits at our core, or for, I guess the way I would put it is more that stuff that's been hereditary. So that was your homework. Your homework was the reason why it was your homework was for a few things. So that heat that had built up in this area for you, in between your chest and your neck, so around your thymus gland, is those loving words, or even some of the F-bombs that have been sitting there stored because either you're too polite to verbalize it or you're too shy to be vulnerable and verbalize it. So I think you had a mixture of both those things going on. To circle back to what you were saying around women, you look at today's day and age, like back in the days, women, especially in Māori culture, were revered because you were the portal into this realm. You were special. You had the gifts of sight, foresight, knowing, and then other mystical, magical powers, which, now we look at the business world, for instance, women have had to fight to have a voice in there. And then you think about how many times their voice has been stifled by not wanting to get fired. Then you add on top your cycle of once a month of trying to release negative energy from your system, and there's no allowance sort of given to that.
Completely.
And for me, I got a way better understanding working in clinic and treating women. I'm like, holy shit, I don't think many men could handle this, to be honest. And but then also you look on the other side for men. We're not allowed to be vulnerable. It's being classed, especially in New Zealand. It's such a stoic, such a stoic country, and a young country in that sense. So we don't talk about our emotions much, or it's not really looked at. So that is changing. So these ocean screams are really about getting that out, or some people who don't like to complain, getting that out, getting frustration out. For other people who find it hard to be vulnerable, you'll probably find like the pain that'll come out of your scream is, and for people who have been through trauma, you can hear it. You can hear that little kid in you, like, get it gone. I've been carrying this forever. And then, so you will have listeners who are like, ocean, cold, not happening. And fair enough. But for any of your listeners that have a bath, that have Epsom salts, or that have a bath, access to a bath, chuck a bag of Epsom salts in and give it a good scream. But I would suggest as you pull the plug, and let all those F-bombs go down the drain, because they're going to go out to the ocean anyway. And it's the combination of salt, air, and water is going to help release those negative ions to take away and eat up some of that negative shit that people carry. And you feel better.
I had an experience in Bali. I went on this I don't know, just similar kind of healing thing. And some of the screams that were coming out of me, I was like almost shocked by. I was like, where the heck is this coming from? I didn't even think it was possible. And it just kind of comes. So I was quite surprised when you said that, because I like to think of myself as, relatively good at sharing my emotions. But actually, I think there were a lot of different things going on in a certain time period. So it was sort of the residue of quite a few different things.
I think, again, some of that was heartache and also politeness and timing. Like, we don't always have those moments to like speak up in the moment. And then like another one, I also get people to scream out, "Fuck yeah!"
We
We're,
need to do that more often, for sure.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. Because I know some really modest, humble people that
Mm-hmm.
they don't feel necessarily recognized because they don't celebrate their own wins,
Yeah.
but they would love. And I'm probably guilty of both sides of those f bombs. You know, I guess as a healer and a teacher, I I have to be diligent on these things for myself so that none of that comes out at people it doesn't need to. And
Mm-hmm.
also just to process that stuff out for myself. But for me, if it's a hard week, it'll be 3 F bombs and one fuck yeah. Uh, and
Balance it out a bit.
yeah, try to balance it out. And then for other days where I feel like I'm on top of the world, I don't have any issues. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do 3 big screams of "fuck yeah" because I'm winning.
Yeah.
And then life will throw you a curveball, and you're like, okay, I gotta, yep,
Back into the water.
yeah, back
Yeah.
in the water, or exercise, yoga,
Yeah.
yeah. So those are just ways to keep on top of our emotional stuff. But my old coping mechanisms were exactly that. I was barely coping, and it was drink, drunk, sleep. Wake
Yeah.
up, do it all again. To I guess that was a coping strategy that I grew up with watching. So monkey
Mm.
see, monkey do.
Totally, totally. Yeah, no, I want it because I want to talk about the men's mental health in a second. But I was just thinking, like any other things that really your session highlighted for me, which actually might help people listening too. But one more thing that I really thought about was that spiritual side, like actually accepting it and bringing it into the work I do, or just for me, just owning it, I guess, because how I was thinking about the session afterwards is it was very like, it kind of like synced everything up. Before I went into it, I was feeling like, how do I get this across? And I was like, thinking about it. Whereas you said quite a few things about just actually being okay that, just you can bring it all together. Really, that really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a holistic approach.
Yeah.
And if we look at so the one of the most or more famous Maori health models, which was
Mm.
written by Mason Drury in 1987, I believe. So he's a scholar and academic, and I think he's a doctor as well. And from what I've learned, came up he came up with a way to draw the concept of the 4 walls of wellness, or the 4 walls of strong walls of your house.
Mm.
If one of them is down, it's going to bring the other ones down, and it's not a solid foundation. So those are family, your body, your mind, and your spirit. And so probably for Maori people and Indigenous cultures, it's a bit easier to grasp
Yeah.
because we're kind of tuned into nature. And I guess for a lot of other people who the only way to spirit is through the church, or different religions. So realizing that you are a spirit with a body and a brain starts to give you a more holistic approach. And I guess the easiest way to understand that your spirit is energy. And so again, back to that conversation at the start, I'm a spiritual being in a physical body.
Mm-hmm.
You will get some people sort of turn a side eye, like, "Hi, happy."
Yeah.
But if I said, "Oh, I'm an energetical being with a body," it's a little bit more palatable for some people. Uh, what I've found is um, when I first started doing this work as actual work, um, people of all races and denominations were like, "You're weird." Because I advertised it, or I didn't advertise it. I just walked around looking for sick people, um, and got sent to their relatives. So I said I'm a Māori spiritual healer.
Mm.
Um, that is 100% what I do. I'm also an energetic healer. I'm also have many more races inside of my DNA than just Maori. It was just delivered from my nan from a Māori standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at adding that spiritual, so from a Māori point of view, our spirit is called wairua.
Mm-hmm.
So you break that word down and it's two waters. So your internal waters, and again, science tells us, depending on the science, 70 to 90% water make up in our body.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are logical, if you realize that the moon does stuff with water, with the tides, then you start to understand you might be more emotional at certain times. But that's also spiritual. And then the second waters are around our bodies. So
Mm-hmm.
we understand that when we start to understand that those negative ions are eating the negative parts of that second water that we can't necessarily see.
Mm-hmm.
So for Māori, it is, I guess, a logical thing that we have a spirit. My job is to help people to feel it, to understand it, and to work with it, because it is our core of our being, and it is our superpower. So with your work, I think what I was sort of aiming, well, what I was trying to get across was your mind's super sharp, your heart is massive, but your spirit is, not only is she a warrior, she's also wanting to utilize some of the gifts that you hold inside. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Intuition, which you said you wanted to circle back to. I felt you had a deep knowing of things,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when it came to people. um, the ability to call bullshit really fast.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but also, I feel like your spirit, we also mentioned this as well. Your spirit is calling you off this country or off this land to go and do some greater work. So, whatever that looks like, when we tune into our spirit, it might not make sense to our brain. Like, if I had have only just listened with my logic, I would, yeah, probably not be in a good space. Um, but I probably could have lost all of those nightclubs and all those businesses through breaking.
Yeah.
It could have been in a mental institution, or not even alive. So I I really sort of put it out there to anybody, and I think um, COVID was where I would say the spiritual stuff started arising, because people had to stop and
Mm.
look what was going on internally, who they were in lockdown with,
Yeah.
um,
Sure.
that they could work from home, and actually, what do I want to do with my life once lockdown's finished?
Yeah.
So I feel like you definitely have some spiritual gifts you can tap into and tune into.
Mm.
And, whether that's just meditating, whether that's being mindful, grateful, present in any given moment, those are all just, I guess, they're really good starting points.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was good because I think we can get in our head, and it's just that logic intuition thing, and I often find myself at conflict between the two. But I'm learning to trust my intuition more. But sometimes, especially I think in New Zealand, there's a way of doing a path to follow, should I say, a societal norm, because we're a small country. You tick certain boxes, you do things a certain way. And that's not to say it doesn't work for people, but I've never really felt it works for me. Not necessarily on those timelines, let's just put it that way. So having the constant trust, building that trust through the intuition and to step into my gifts. I don't want to become resentful, but it can feel like a lot sometimes.
Yeah, I,
Mm.
I was definitely feeling resentful at the height of my nightclub career.
Mm.
And I couldn't even tell you what I was resentful about. I think I was resentful that I wasn't enjoying it.
Mm.
um, I'm not going to lie, hitchhiking the country and working for donation, there was some times where I resented not having money.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I gave upstairs an ultimatum, and 3 times I gave the ultimatum of give me $100 note or I quit. I'm done. I'll get a job as a builder. Uh, and all 3 times I got given a $100 bill, and the person said, I don't know why, but it had to be $100 note, not 520s, not 250s, and not 1010s. So here, this is your donation for the healing. Thank you very much. And I think it's moments like those that like I can reflect back on and go, no, no, it's all happening for me. It's not happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, trust is a hard one because yeah, again, you said it with this country, in this day and age, there usually there is a path set out, and usually there are expectations on us, conditions and conditioning. So unlearning
That's
um,
it.
to be able to find your truth and find out who you are at the core of your being, that's really courageous. You know,
Mm,
it's not easy,
mm,
and I think the hardest part for me was losing a lot of, um, I think, close friends.
mm,
Was how I deemed them, and then also realizing um, the friends that take their place. Like I'm still friends with people from primary school.
mm,
Um, the closeness of our relationship for some just really completely dissolved. Um,
mm,
and then for others, there's a healthier respect there. Um, yeah, I had even family members wanting to put me in the nut house
mm,
after I gave away my worldly possessions, and I understand that as well. It was probably quite embarrassing for them, uh,
mm,
but now and also people who told me I was crazy and made fun of me, they eventually came back to ask for treatments and, hey,
mm,
all my kids sick, can you help? You're the last resort. So again, just having that trust that if you know in your heart you're on the right track, the universe will help you to get to where you need to be. And then if you also if you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. It's just a
mm,
matter of taking those steps to do that.
mm. Yeah, I like that. If you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. I haven't heard that one before.
Oh man, that
Hold it in your
was me from 19. No, yeah, 19. I saw my nightclubs in my mind.
and you just went after it.
The only difference was in my mind it was a four-story building,
Yeah.
and in reality it was two nightclubs across the road from each other, on K Road. Um, but even the layout of the bars was the same, but just wasn't on top of each other.
Interesting. Yeah, because in my work, I teach a lot on visualization.
Mm,
And I also had that experience once. I visualized myself in an outfit on an island. And I remember going to Fiji like 10 years later and I got the photo. I was like, that is what I visualized. I
yeah,
often tell my clients because, yeah, you're right. It's very powerful to have the vision and then bring it to life as well.
yeah,
So I want to change direction a bit and talk a bit on generational trauma and how I know it's a opened up a can of worms there. No, we don't have to go too deep, but I mean, in my session, there was some patterns, family patterns that you relay back and different things. And I was just curious as to how you see it or feel into it. And then, um, yeah, how can someone begin to recognize and acknowledge their own generational trauma? Like, are there certain signs that you would see?
okay. So generational trauma, it's a biggie and it goes deep. And signs that you're carrying some of that would be fatigue, um, different ailments going on in your body. So, for instance, in your case, it was what was happening. It wasn't Crohn's. You had fatigue, chronic fatigue.
Oh, I had fibromyalgia. I had chronic pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fibromyalgia. So these are all signs in my line of work of generational trauma, but also to not make it so traumatic, it can be unresolved hurt feelings from generations, or not speaking up. And then a lot of people who suffer from especially lower back pain, and then growth pain. So you'll see that on some people's backs, and it'll look like stretch marks going sideways. And those are like hard growth moments for that person. These are some of the signs of generational trauma physically that you can see. Lower back pain is early childhood, but if it goes right into the tailbone and the person finds it either hard to walk, or they keep getting sciatica, or things like that start happening, it's a sign that they do have trauma within their genealogy or through their ancestry. For other people, it can show up as arthritis. So this would be moving into more of dad's line and stored anger. um, Going back generations, especially when you find hereditary issues. Uh, Usually, this has a starting point, or for Maori we say a whakapapa. So a whakapapa is like the genealogy. So when you can trace it back, you start to be able to look at ways you can change that. And so, for instance, and actually, by the way, I just got to say, from working on you with your session, you've done so much work to release what was going on in your tummy area. Because okay, and now my tummy's rumbling. Still working. Still working on it, but it can be a lot of stored emotions or a lot of sadness throughout your lines that I believe our generation, well, my generation moving forward, have been the ones to say enough, and we're breaking those patterns. So if you were to look at and so even extreme alcoholism or drug abuse or those sorts of things are other forms of generational trauma that have, just been handed down. This is how we deal with our problems. We drink, we don't talk about them, and we drink some more, and that actually doesn't really matter what country you come from, because from my travels around the world, it's apparent in every culture, you know. So yeah, generational trauma. It can also, um, be cyclic by ending up in prison or those sorts of things. We're not taught in schools about this stuff, and in fact, um, in a lot of lower decile areas or in those schoolings, you're very rarely taught anything that's going to help you get ahead in life.
For sure. Not
So,
even on emotions or identifying emotions. Yeah. I mean, you'd think that would be the first step, actually having awareness of how we feel, being able to label how we feel.
that should be at kindergarten level. Because if you notice, some of those kids at kindergarten that go around punching other kids is because there's some either generational trauma, and it's not always true that it's the parents, but there's something in the lines that needs clearing out. And I know for myself, growing up in a home where there was domestic violence, and all of the people involved in those situations in their families was domestic violence, and moving through those generations. So that again, it's up to us to be the change. And I would say, if any of your listeners are listening to this, they are probably that person for their family,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah. Definitely, if you're listening to this podcast, you're putting in the work because I don't always talk about the nice stuff. But yeah, it's not easy. And I think the first step is actually just getting real and honest and curious about like what seems to be repeating or what's not working, because I think you're right. I think a lot of people at the moment are starting to realize, maybe with the assistance of social media and people sharing openly as well, they're starting to connect some dots about what might be no longer working in their in their life and family situation.
Definitely, 100%. I also, um, I used to describe myself as a product of the system, and everything was sort of stacked against me. I remember for my mum, being a solo mother in the 80s was frowned upon. And I remember watching. other mothers not want to talk to her and like sort of shunning her because I didn't have a father person, present,
Mm,
and the little snarks and talking behind her back and stuff like that. And that's being programmed into those women as well. But uh, that domestic violence sort of led into, I guess, for me, it wasn't really monkey see, monkey do in the sense of the domestic violence, but believing I was a product of the system,
mm-hmm,
um, and believing that that was what was written for me
mm-hmm,
is a big reason why I changed it up, but also why I do the work I do now. So, as much as I'm a healer and a teacher of that, I also started a workshop that was aimed at troubled youth,
mm-hmm.
and then became a thing for men, and eventually it will end up being a thing for anyone with a spirit. And so that's called Way of the Warrior. And the whole point was, in order to break the chains of society, to break the chains of certain stigmas, our family patterning, and to be the best we can possibly be, you need to be a warrior in this day and age. And whether it's a peaceful warrior or a business warrior or a female warrior in
Mm-hmm.
whatever your area is, for me, it's that warrior spirit. And so
Mm.
now when we add those two words together, if you've got any male listeners, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I've got a warrior spirit. I'm not spiritual, but I've got a warrior spirit.
Yeah.
So things start to change. And with those men's programs, or the ones that have been aimed at men, we've had farmers, we've had builders, we've had doctors, we've had men just straight out of jail, we've had young men on their way to jail.
Mm,
And the way the program's been written is to drop all of your titles, your labels of what you think you were and what society think you were, go back to
mm-hmm,
your core essence and rebuild. Grab
mm,
what's useful. It's like you're restoring your house. Uh,
mm,
yeah,
mm,
so those are a big part of that comes from the work I do. Like I actually wrote that program as a 19-year-old kid in prison, playing up and being violent. Uh,
mm-hmm.
I looked at myself in the mirror and was like, okay, is this how it's going to play out, or is there something better for me? And
Yeah.
that was probably one of the first times I prayed again. Uh,
Mm-hmm,
I'd stopped praying through a best friend committing suicide, and
mm,
that sent me off the rails.
mm,
And I believe he took his own life probably because of that ancestral trauma.
mm,
His dad died when he was young, and he just wanted to be with his dad. He was
mm,
angry at the world. Looking at it back as an adult, I knew he was angry. We were both angry.
mm,
So we were sort of magnetized together. And then
mm-hmm.
when he left, I just went and doubled down on being angry. So, yeah, working with men, especially, we've got a lot of testosterone, obviously. So that needs to be put to use and in good spaces.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see that especially in New Zealand now.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess for females, um, how you were saying before about you're in such a logical world in order to be seen and recognized,
Mm-hmm.
whilst still maintaining that beautiful, nurturing, creative, spiritual side. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm hoping to see moving forward is that beautiful marriage of that,
Yeah.
and especially realizing we have a masculine and a feminine side of our brain. We're allowed to have both.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've actually done quite a few episodes on the masculine, feminine dynamics, but also been pretty interested in relationships and I think things aren't working in society in general. Yeah, a lot like relationships, yes, that's one thing, but you touched on men's mental health, and I did want to speak on that with you because as a female, I can't speak from that place, but I know that a lot of men are struggling. Of course, in Aotearoa, like it's very evident with suicide rates and mental health stats and everything else. I guess what I want to ask is, what are steps forward that men can take, or what do they need to know, perhaps about unlearning some societal conditioning? And then how can the woman support their men as well? That's another thing that I am curious about.
Okay. So the first thing I would say is, for a lot of men, they have to hit rock bottom, which is really unfortunate because some men don't make it out of there and other men give up at that point. So I feel like first you need to realize two things. Either you might have a problem and you start being actively willing to do something about it, or you might just want to be better and you don't have a problem. And you're one of those people who's, I guess, a game changer and just wanting to bring out the best qualities in yourself to share with your loved ones, your community, which, yeah, I find if you're sort of in between, you're sort of just living head down, going about the motions. um, I feel like I think the cool thing, what I've realized is there is, or not realized, I've been watching these spaces open up, is there are a lot more men's programs that have opened up in the last sort of 5 years. With Way of the Warrior, we a group of us sort of decided it was enough was enough. There was a few suicides going on in Queenstown at the time. This was pre-COVID, and yeah, there was four of us as friends. We decided, let's give it a jam. I had previously run the program in a youth prison about maybe 8 years before. And so it was really about giving men that opportunity to be vulnerable, to learn some new things, to awaken to the fact that they are a spirit in a body, ways to boost up their energy physically and mentally and spiritually so that they can take that back to their families, change up their workspace or their situations. And it was amazing. And so, yeah, decided to just keep running with it. Um, the hardest thing I've found for men is a lot of men, it's making that investment in self. Um, and like even time as an investment. So at the start, it was people, men sort of like, oh, that's expensive. I could buy a whole new set of tires for my car. Or the other side of that, that's a weekend on the piss with the boys.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
and you want me to go and look at my shit? um, so again, a lot of those men had to be sort of embarking on the journey or at rock bottom to go, actually, I want to do something. I have to change. Or there's more for me. I want to change it up. So those were sort of the two groups of men that we got. And, there was tense times, tense emotions, intense things that got shared. And all the men came together to help each other find solutions, but also tautoko or support each other's growth. And those a lot of those men still have friendships with each other. There are a lot more spaces for women, um, you know, but also I would question how much you talk to people in your yoga class, um, you know, and it's still New Zealand culture is over a glass of wine or
Yeah. Yeah, the cultural thing's interesting because I think you touched on it on David's podcast. I found it interesting because it's stuff I'd already considered about how New Zealand, as we know, is a new country, and then it's the merging of Pākehā, Māori, colonisation, all these different, things that come into play, and then just the way that the societal conditioning that people have to unlearn to even express their emotions or be okay to actually validate their own emotions, I think is very large in this country. But I mean, I could be wrong because it could be a whole thing that many countries are also dealing with. But I think having travelled, it's that whole hardened approach here that we need to get past.
Well, this could be a whole different podcast.
Yes, sorry. Throw a whole lot of different things at you there.
No, I think our system has a lot to answer for. You know, if people are dumbed down and not um, authentically waking up to their power, then they're easier to control. I have researched a lot into politics and also where it stemmed from, why it's about. And I think especially in this country, our leaders spend a lot of time creating that division. Um, and colonization's an argument that not many people want to interact with, and it does have a lot to answer for. But I 100% believe there's a way around it, but not with our current people in power, because um, keeps their jobs ticking. Um, but there are so many people out here now that are like starting to change it up, starting to look at, why do I act this way? Why am I broken in these areas? Why can't I have what that person's got? And
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see our culture as a nation shift to start lifting each other up, because we're on the world stage for one of the smallest countries in the world. A lot of it sports, a lot of it, you know, again, leadership as far as political stuff goes. But actually, if you look at our ingenuity, our heart, our courage, our mana, our Kiwi spirit, or you start to realize that we have eyes on us. We are a little bit behind the times as far as the healing stuff goes, but we're catching up really quickly, and it's always been here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So yeah.
definitely. Yeah, no, thank you for your thoughts. Yeah, I'm sure we could have taken that in many directions. So appreciate you bringing it back. Um, yeah, I like I sort of said at the start, I'd just like to touch on intuition. And, if someone's listening and they're thinking, a lot of the stuff you guys are talking about, like I kind of get it, I don't really know where to start with tuning into my spirit or my intuition or just my guidance. What's the first step? I'll keep it simple.
Here's a question for you.
Mm.
Is this going to be aired so people can see, or is it just listening?
Yeah, I'll chuck the video up on Spotify and YouTube. Some people might be listening though.
All right, cool. So then I got two different ones for you. Um, the first one is real simple as far as tuning in, and the hardest part is actually getting your mind to stop for a moment.
Mm.
But if you place your hand on your chest, so I'll get you to do this as well. Okay, and then you close down your eyes and bring your hand about 2-3 inches away from your chest, and just quieten your mind. So for you, Bianca, what can you feel under your palm or between your palm and your chest?
Um, well, I'd say energy, but that sounds a bit general. But it sort of feels like almost like the force of a magnet. When it's sort of pushing against my hand in a very subtle way, and my hand's a little bit prickly.
Okay, cool. So this is your energetic field. Um, Also, this is the first part of you understanding that you have a spirit, because what you're feeling between your palm and your heart is your spirit. Okay.
Nice.
So one water is inside your body, and the other one is what you can feel in between that you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your wairua. So from here, I'm going to get you to just take one deep, big breath. So we're going to breathe out first. So 3, 2, 1, breathe out. And breathe in. And hold. And as you release, bring your hand back to your chest. Okay, and what sensation can you feel on your skin or on your chest, under your hand?
Heat.
Heat?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So now you start to realize that you are an energetic being, you're a spiritual being, but now you can feel this heat. I
Mm.
want you to tell yourself what's a job that you don't want.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
The first thing that popped into my mind, literally, because I saw them before, is the rubbish collector.
Okay.
I don't
So
know.
holding
Sorry,
your hand
collectors. It's probably not as bad as it sounds.
Okay, so hold your hand there and say, I am a rubbish collector, and feel into your heart space how that makes you feel.
I am a rubbish collector. Yeah, I don't feel much. It just feels a bit constricted.
Yeah, okay. Now, what is the best job that you would be able to do next?
Hmm. Earning lots of money, going to the sun. I don't know. What would it be? Um,
Or how about along the lines of, I create powerful change worldwide?
okay. I create powerful change worldwide.
Okay, and what's happening inside of your heart?
It just feels a bit more open in my chest.
Is it
And I
getting
feel
wet?
like it's easier to say that. It's
Is it
easier
getting
to
wet?
speak. Um, Feels a bit more tingly. I wouldn't say warm, but yeah,
Okay.
I can feel the difference.
Okay. So that tingly sensation, um,
Mm-hmm.
that's your, I guess, your spirit going, oh, yeah. And if you, I guarantee you, if you did that exercise again off air and
Mm,
sat with it, that you're going to have, your body's going to have a completely different response. And
mm,
that's just your heart's intuition.
mm-hmm,
So when you quieten your mind, you're going to, um, you're going to have more of a knowing. But if you ask yourself these questions and figure out your body's responses to them, that's, I guess, the first easy step to start understanding what your spirit wants, because your
mm-hmm,
body's going to, you know. Um, so another one could be a country you want to move to.
mm,
Right? So you're already saying that you're feeling the call to go abroad. So
mm-hmm,
um, visualize yourself there. Ask yourself, should I go here? And your body's going to tell you yes or no.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then if you listen to your intuition rather than your logic, you'll probably go on an epic adventure instead of going somewhere that is forced. And
Yeah,
I think most of your listeners will be able to probably connect with forcing something and it not working out how they wanted it to happen.
yeah, definitely. No, that's some really good tips. I really like the way that you got us to feel into our body because I think it's that whole move so quickly that you can kind of have a knowing, but I even do that in my work, just stop to get people to connect to the sensations because
Yeah,
that's something that I didn't do for so long. Like I could tell you again or feel it, but actually the sensations was the last part for me to like feel how does a yes feel in my body? How does a no feel in my body?
yeah,
And my breath and my posture, that kind of thing.
yeah, definitely.
Mm.
And then I guess the other one to just run through quickly is, can you feel any aches or pains in your body right now?
I feel a slight tightness just under my diaphragm on the left. And weirdly, it was there when we had our session together. It's not an
Yep,
ache, though, it's just a tightness.
yep. So this is your core power center.
Mm-hmm.
What it can mean is there's either people that are sort of getting in the way of your power,
Mm-hmm.
or you're being emotionally tight and slowing down your own power.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to just do a little exercise for everyone at home so they can do it for themselves and you can do it in real time. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to get you to bring your hands together. And if you give them a rub for just to open up a bit of stimulation. So this is to midi midi. And then on 3, 2, 1, we're going to clap. So 3, 2, 1. Cool. All right. And so from here, you're going to bring your hands apart. Okay, and so I'll get you to close down your eyes, because when you close down your eyes, you close off your logic for a moment.
Hmm.
Now, what can you feel between your palms?
Well, it's like my palms want to move. I don't know if it's just my
Yep.
logic.
So where do
Um,
they want to move?
they actually don't want to move together. They're kind of resisting each other.
Okay, so let them move out to where they're comfortable. Okay, so are you experiencing, I guess, reverse magnetism,
Hmm.
like two opposing magnets?
Hmm.
Cool. And so I want you to open your eyes and just see if this, if you still feel it as strong.
Well, my hands don't want to move anywhere, but the sensation feels strong when I close my eyes.
Okay, so this just tells you that right now, logic is saying there's nothing in between your hands, even though you can feel there's something in between your hands.
Yeah.
So again, this is your wairua. So
Hmm.
this is your spirit. So you are feeling the energy from your spirit because you've placed it um, in your hands.
Hmm.
So from here, I'm going to get you to just create a ball. Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me what's going on with your eyes closed. It's weird, eh?
Funny. You guys, I hope everyone's watching this or like on video. Um, yeah, I mean, it's that subconscious thing. Logically, I want to say that my hands want to just go together, but it actually feels like there is a resistance, like that polar magnetizing feeling as well.
But as you start to shape your hands around in the shape of, say, a bowling ball,
Mm-hmm.
can you start to feel that there's this energy or your spirit is
Mm-hmm.
moving into the shape of a bowling ball?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to get you to just open your eyes and watch me. So you're going to bring this ball
Mm-hmm.
of your
Mm-hmm.
spirit to your diaphragm, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to breathe it in, hold, and when you're ready, you're going to release.
Oh.
Okay, so what can you feel under your hands? Is it heat again?
Yes, heat.
Okay, and so just have a little bit of a shake off. Take another deep breath in. Okay, so two questions for you. What was the oh moment?
Um, a bit of a jolt. Like I've had jolts before,
Yep,
but just a bit of a, I don't know, jolts. I've had, uh, yeah, body movements before, but it was a bit of a jolt, and it was
okay,
that noise that I made.
yep. And so, what's happened to that tightness? Is it
Yeah, the
broken
tightness
up
feels
at all?
better. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
So now you have, I guess, the first stages of honohono, or the first sort of foundation, which is your energy is always trying to find wellness for you.
Mm,
So whenever you're stressed, you can do that. Create the
mm,
ball, put it in your head. Whenever you're feeling a bit sad, you can put that in your heart. Whenever
mm-hmm,
you have a sore leg, or so now you get to realize, and what you'll probably find is, for you it's jolts. I think if you keep doing it, you'll probably hear or feel your tummy releasing that tightness.
mm,
So maybe here's a thing for you to do is, a little bit of homework, or for
mm,
anybody at home. Um, if you've found you've got a place where that freed up some movement,
mm-hmm,
do one of those every day and see how it is after 5 days. Because
mm.
for me and my work, the proof's got to be in the pudding. So um, yeah, but now you've got some stuff to work with to
Yeah.
help those tight moments in the belly, or when your heart is feeling tense or constricted, or
Mm,
if it is racing. Um,
mm-hmm,
and what some of your listeners who might be skeptical at home might feel is, relief, release, or relaxed. Um, and the more you do it, the stronger you get. I have no doubt with you, Bianca, if you kept doing this, it wouldn't be long before you start seeing colors in between your hands.
I was just
Even,
going to say, do we see colours? Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, is it meant to have colours? Because I can actually see that I want to give it a colour.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you want to give it a color, or there was one
Oh, it was a
inside of
colour.
your
Yeah.
eyelids?
Yeah.
So, what was the color inside of your eyelids?
Orange.
Cool. So, if you want to get all spiritual with it, that's the color of that center, your
Yeah.
solar
Yeah.
plexus.
Yeah. True. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's why I really love this work, because there's a uncanny science to it.
Yeah.
um, and I think science is slowly catching up. The more and more people are waking up, like
Yeah.
this. um, I believe what I do and teach is nothing new. It's just it was hidden for so long,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
illegal in this country.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah,
No,
so
that was
um,
really powerful. Thank you. I hope you guys listening as well start to do that. I'm going to do it for the next. How long did you say? A week?
give it a week.
Okay.
and,
Cool.
and then if it works for you over a week, then just use it from now on. uh,
Mm-hmm.
And again, for you, Bianca, if you find that, like, I want to know more now, um, this is the intro stuff to self healing. But yeah, I've got 4 workshops that are pretty much around 2 to 3 days, or I hold them in retreat format now. So that's why I came down to Manawa retreat. Um, but yeah, I have a range of different options to learn this stuff, and it's all empowering. That's the whole point of it. So uh,
Well, I've already thought about it. I'm like, I'm going to have to learn off Dion soon because it was that much of a powerful experience. So, yes, guys listening, I will be eventually, I'm sure, doing more. I don't know. Do you call it study? Learning?
yeah, learning.
Study?
Study,
Um, when when it's
yeah,
right, because yeah, Dion sort of alluded to it, but I do feel like I have a few extra things that I could turn online with the energy healing part of it. So yeah, we'll keep practicing in the meantime. Do you actually want to share a little bit about just as we sort of wrap this up, a bit about your trainings or what you're offering at the moment and how people can actually learn more about Honohono or just follow you and your journey?
cool. So I have 3 businesses sort of running at the moment. They are Healing Aotearoa, and so that's .co.nz, wayofthewarrior.co.nz, and then Honohono Healing International.com. And so they are the way of the warrior is again those more targeted at men at the moment, but we will open that up to females, and also male and female mixed, as
Mm-hmm.
we move on. Healing Aotearoa is literally that. So there you'll find trusted practitioners of Honohono who have gone through, they're either at level 2 or they're at level 4 of their training. You will find online sessions with me, or you'll be able to go and read or learn more about the medicine, its origins and foundations. And then Honohono Healing International is aimed at international people in different countries, and that came about because the demand is greater overseas than it is in New Zealand. So out of those 700 students, I would say uh, probably at least 450 of those people are from offshore.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, so I do a lot of time, I do a lot of distance healings, and people who come and visit this country, they'll book in for a session with me or one of the students, and then uh, they're like that's their go-to
Mm,
as far as medicine works. And then so I'm just about to release online versions of the workshops I teach in person,
cool.
so that people around the world can learn Honohono online.
Yeah, cool.
So the first one should drop in a couple of well, maybe even a week. My admin team's pretty fast.
Nice.
So that's literally just self healing, and that goes through, I think it's 9 modules of how you can look into your own healing from a honohono perspective, and gives you a few more tools than the little one I just showed you, to bring optimal wellness to yourself. And then Manawa Retreat .co.nz is where I'm working out of at the moment. So I teach a workshop here called Level Up, and it's all about that. It's mainly focused at young professionals or entrepreneurs or business people who are looking for that edge, to be on top of their game, ahead in their market. And so this takes, I guess, some practical, grounded spiritual tools and helps you to incorporate it into your business, into your own life, to mainly boost your energy levels, to boost your productivity, and also to, sometimes when you've been doing the same thing for ages and you just need some fresh perspectives on that and how to reach more people or change up your message. So the Level Up is really aimed at that. And so those are the main workshops that I run from Manawa Retreat. And then, just online. I've got a fantail like, yeah, tell them. And then got online bookings available. So that's for honohono sessions, or for, I really am not a fan of the term, but it's been asked for, which is spiritual coaching. And that's for anybody who's, I guess, wanting a definitive fix for what's going on, whether it be in their business or their family life, and some coaching on how they can do it themselves. So I'm all about, I don't want to be the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. I want to help you to help you, to bring out the best of your spirit so that you can help others, because my belief system is that's how we will change up the game and have a better world, especially for the next generations. So thanks for allowing me the plug.
Oh, please go for it. Like, guys, if you haven't already got the vibe, Dion's work is very powerful and huge advocate. So yeah, please share. I will be sharing far and wide as well. And it's been such an honor, and I really appreciate you giving me a honohono session. Didn't really know what I was in for, kind of just threw that spanner in the works, and here we are recording the podcast. So I'm really glad that I initially reached out. It's not something I tend to do around podcasts, but I was just happened to do it.
Very grateful for the experience, and I hope one day I get to work alongside you or present something with you. I think, I really enjoyed your content of what you put out there. It's again, I'll just say it's refreshing, and especially that whole the name of your podcast, To Unlearn, because it took me a good few years, because I was, especially when I was at the height of a businessman, I was pretty driven and had to unlearn how business actually works, or how business can work.
Yeah.
And I just I really value what you bring to the planet and the people upon it. So thank you. Great honor for me as well.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. I think unless Dion has any last words, I think we'll wrap it up. And I will put this video up so that you can do the practice with me. I'll put it up on YouTube. I'll put it up on Spotify. And awesome. Thank you all for listening. I hope you took something away. Hope you tuned in, tapped into your intuition, and have a great week. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Awesome. Ka kite.